What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Soge Kami here, and I'm here to talk about chapter 1120 of One Piece. This is my second time recording this. My microphone had some type of disconnect. So, let's just get into it right at the start. This is chapter 1120. It's titled Atlas. Now, in the last chapter, we saw that Atlas was going to go up and help the Straw Hats escape the island after noticing something about York. York was listening in, and she was aware of the communication. So, starting off the cover story, this is continuing with Yamato's voyage to and around Wano, and she was in Kibi, and Denjiro has wrangled up the kids that were attacking Yamato, basically saying that she was the daughter of Kaido, and basically Denjiro, who's now the daimyo of Kibi, which means basically like the leader, is doing their part to teach the kids that Yamato is of no danger. Yamato's there to help them. I think this is super important for Yamato to be traveling around and letting people know that Yamato isn't like her father, and this is something new for her. And I don't know, I'm really here for it. I feel like this is a slow moving storyline so far, but with what we're seeing with, Momonosuke reacting to Joy Boy, if this cover story can get to a point where Yamato gets to react to the Joy Boy message and we get some big reveals in the cover story, I can see this cover story doing some crazy numbers, and just being amazing. So I'm here for it. I like that it's slow right now. We don't need it to in the moments where One Piece the chapter is up. It's cool for the story to be low, because next, when the chapters are more calm, then we can get something more interesting out of Yamato's cover story. And I think that the cover stories are usually bigger towards the end anyway than versus the beginning. So the chapter itself started off with Clover, and Clover reveals that he was actually a D. Now, Clover's story is he had a brother, and when somebody found out about his brother having the D initial, his brother was killed, and then Clover had to hide the D, basically disown his brother. This is like the opposite of what happened with Nami's mom, right? When they're asked about if they're her kids, Nami's mom said Bellamere. She said, yes, they're my kids, and died for it. This is like the opposite. He didn't, when asked about his father, or his brother, sorry, he didn't claim him, and he got to live. And I think that had Clover living with a lot of shame in his life, and that basically spurred Clover into becoming the man who he is, whose thirst for knowledge to find out why it is that his brother was killed over just his initials. And unfortunately, he never got to find that answer, and so the people who were alive had to keep that will, and that question still burns. And even in somebody like Robin, right? Robin was always curious about that D initial. I remember her asking Luffy about it, and Luffy not knowing anything. I wonder if that was something that Clover had mentioned to Robin about the D initial. If Robin knows that Clover was a D, those are the types of questions that come to my mind. And I love that this arc was thought to be of something that could be changing for Frankie, but in the end, I feel like this arc has really helped out Robin's character a lot. Robin got to come to terms with something. She found out that she still has somebody waiting for her outside of everyone else who basically had some sort of family, somebody who loved them somewhere. Robin had nobody, and this arc changed that for Robin, gave her something more to fight for, not just the answers and the will of Ohara, but there's somebody else alive who also had that will of Ohara that Robin can go to and share in the memories. And I love that for her. This has really been like a subtle Robin arc. The only way that this could become better for her is we can figure out why she is injured in the first place. But I digress. Next, we're going to talk about Atlas. Atlas was, she had her Pedro moment in this arc. She basically, after, figuring out that York was doing some sort of spying on them and figuring out what their plan was, she goes up, incapacitates Lilith, and I think that's important to incapacitate her, because all of the Vegapunks were sacrificing themselves. If Lilith wasn't incapacitated, it is very likely that Lilith would have done something to make it so that the Straw Hats could escape and that she would be left behind. So I feel like Atlas incapacitating her was her way of allowing Lilith to live on for the Vegapunks that didn't make it, because at this point all the other Vegapunks are dead. It's just York, who's now on the side of the world government, and Lilith herself. And so what had happened was basically Atlas goes, she holds down Venus, and then self-destructs herself while the Straw Hats use a coup de burst on the Sunny, and that gives them the extra bit of mileage to boost towards the water. So the Straw Hats are on a nice course to Elbaf now. They're about to reach the water, and I think in the next chapter we'll start seeing their escape. Now, although the ship's gonna take damage, I imagine that the Sunny goes through an upgrade when it gets to Elbaf, because a flight like this can't be easy for the ship to take. So I imagine that something's happening for the ship in the next arc for sure, because yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next arc we start seeing similar things to Skypiea, and we see like a Klabauterman, because if any arc is going to be like the Skypiea arc, I feel like the Elbaf arc is going to be that arc. So yes, Atlas had her Pedro moment. Atlas was really, I don't know, Atlas wasn't really my favorite of the Vegapunks, but I think that this moment was really cool for Atlas, just basically disconnecting Lilith and showing that, like, the Vegapunks are believing, and they're all of the same idea that the Straw Hats are worth saving, and there's something there. And I loved seeing the reactions from Usopp and Chopper, basically like glazing Atlas, like, oh, you did that for us, like, we won't forget you. Next we see Luffy. It's obvious that Luffy will soon learn about the legend of Joy Boy. We had this moment where Emmett is trying to talk to Luffy, call him Joy Boy, and Luffy has no idea who he's talking to. So obviously there'll be a moment where somebody somewhere is able to explain to Luffy exactly what's going on with this legend of Joy Boy and how that affects Luffy as well. There's a weapon that Emmett has, and apparently Joy Boy told Emmett not to use it until the time is right, and it seems like this is that time. So I'm curious about what this weapon is, and if this weapon will be the secret into how to damage the Gorosei. So this is going to be a big moment that is being set up, and hopefully in the next chapter we will see that pay off. There is a quote from Vegapunk where he says, "I'm confident you have all come to the same conclusion at this point, and I anticipate that it is what will ultimately determine how things transpire in the future." Now that's just like kind of like a lot of words, but I feel like what he's implying, because in context he's talking about Goal Roger, right? He's talking about how, if he had the answers and he didn't do anything, he's the only, like, the conclusion that we'd have to draw to is that the One Piece will fill in all of the holes that Vegapunk doesn't know yet. And because he's telling this to the world, and we're seeing the prisoners in Impel Down react to this, it is my thought process that we are going to have another The One Piece is Real moment from Vegapunk this time, and then the people of the world, the pirates, are going to race out to the sea for the final push for the One Piece. Now, showing us the people of Impel Down really makes us think about, the Impel Down breakout, characters like Buggy, characters like Doflamingo, who's currently in there, and characters like Mr. 2. And I am of the belief that there will be another Impel Down breakout, and that Impel Down breakout would see characters like Mr. 2 and Doflamingo, Whitebeard Jr., Marco, all these characters interacting with each other. And my hope is that some way, somehow, we saw like a smidge of Crocodile, right? And we didn't show us where Crocodile was, but we saw a smidge of him, and we haven't gotten Buggy's reaction to this whole thing. So my hope is that while this all is going on, that Buggy went to Impel Down to break people out again. That's why we got at the end, the people of Impel Down are hearing this message. How are they hearing this message? Like, is it playing throughout all of Impel Down? I wouldn't assume so. So maybe somebody is there. Maybe it's Buggy's crew doing another breakout, getting ready for, the end of this saga, which is to find the One Piece. And I think that there have been a lot of setup for this Impel Down second stage breakout, but just going on like a small tangent here, I was recently watching a One Piece episode somewhere around 479, and it was Mr. 3, and he was talking, he was creating the key that was going to help Ace escape, and he gives it to Luffy, and he says, I wanted to honor my friend, will you not laugh at me, right? And Luffy says, of course not. And his friend was Mr. 2. Mr. 2's goal was to have Luffy save his brother, so that's why Mr. 3 helped him. And I feel like a lot of people expect Mr. 2, Bon Clay, to join the Straw Hats, but maybe there's something there for Mr. 2 to join back with the Baroque Works, the Cross Guild, right? There's a connection there. Mr. 3 had a loyalty to Mr. 2, and both of them had a loyalty to Crocodile, who's the leader of Cross Guild, right? Who's the de facto leader of Cross Guild. So I feel like all of this is kind of like subtle setup for more of that to come back into light, and I can see that happening for the future of the story. So I feel like that's a small little hint that we're getting at the end there, especially with a character being talked about, Goldie Roger. That is a character who is related to Buggy, related to Shanks. So in the next chapter, I am expecting to finally see the Buggy reaction. And I think that it's been waiting this long because, like I said, I really do believe that Buggy is going to be in Impel Down when we see him next. And so that is my guess, and I think that that'll happen in the next chapter. I feel like the next chapter is going to be a big chapter. I love this chapter. It was actually longer than most of the chapters we get. Usually they're like 15, 16 pages. It was like a 19-page chapter. So I love that so much. I felt like this chapter was really good setup, really good moments. And it had jokes, had every Straw Hat was in it. Yeah, and I just really love this chapter. So let me know what you guys thought about this chapter. Let me know if you guys think that we're gonna have another the One Piece is real moment from Vegapunk, and how you guys feel about Lilith going with the Straw Hats. Right now, currently, I feel like Lilith will be with the Straw Hats, mostly because if the government has York, there has to be one other Vegapunk who's going to fight against York. And although Lilith will be disconnected from Punk Records, I'm pretty sure a lot of the information and smarts that Lilith has, she'll take with her, and that could be really good in terms of like the weapons that she has. She might be able to give the Straw Hats upgrades that we're looking for. But will she be with the Straw Hats till the end of the story, or will it be something like in Elbaf, they meet with the revolutionaries and she goes her own way? So let me know what you guys think about that. Yeah, and I enjoyed this chapter. Thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure to like, subscribe. Let me know you're alive in the comment section down below. This has been So Good Kami, and I'm out.